Okay, hi, we're going to interview about the craft beer scene in Charlotte. Would you like to introduce yourself and say a bit about the brewery first?
Sure, my name is Daniel Wade. I'm with Wooden Robot Brewery. We are currently under construction with a planned opening date in June of this year. We are going to focus on a wide variety of beers, many of them inspired by Belgian farmhouse ales, which includes saisons and various sour styles. In addition to that, we will be paying homage to some of the other American craft brewers that have inspired us. So we'll be brewing a lot of IPAs and pale ales and some American style beers as well. Overall, we just plan to really rotate through a lot of different types of beer to keep us interested and to also keep everyone who comes to drink our beer interested, have something new for them whenever they come.
Okay, thank you. So, first question, how did you become involved with brewing?
I started off home brewing. So I started when I was in mechanical engineering school during my undergraduate studies. I really got into the hobby and at the same time started to do some internships with some larger engineering firms. And when I did, I started to realize that a desk job sitting and staring at PDFs and engineering drawings really wasn't something I was passionate about as much as I had thought. I really loved the science of everything when I got into engineering, and when I picked up the hobby of homebrewing, I really loved the science aspect, but you also get a ton of creativity as well. So that balance really drew me into it. So I started looking for opportunities to transfer to a professional brewing career. I got a job with a brewery in Gainesville, Florida, where I was studying, called Southend Brewery, and begun actually volunteering as an intern for them. I worked my way up to assistant brewer and started working there full time when I graduated, so I worked for an entire summer there before I went and got my graduate degree at Heriot-Watt University in Edinburgh, Scotland, where I got my Master's of Science in Brewing and Distilling. And that was kind of where I really stepped up and became where I really felt like I was a brewer. So I continued working in the industry from there, but that's really where I really started.
Okay. So why was Southend chosen as the location for the brewery?
A variety of reasons. I actually just moved here about a year ago from Florida, but my business partner Josh has been living in the Charlotte area for about 6 years, and he's actually been living in Southend for a little over 3 years now. He loved the area. He works in the banking industry, so light rail access was really convenient for him, being able to take the light rail into Uptown. And just the amount of growth here, not only does it seem like a really cool place where we wanted to live, but it seemed like a great opportunity for a place to open a business as well.
Okay. So how has craft beer and the different breweries affected the growth of your local neighbourhood and community?
I think that the craft beer scene really is important for the growth in this area and is in a lot of areas. I think there's a history of breweries coming into underdeveloped areas and kind of being an anchor for a community and bringing in other, art type businesses, other very local oriented businesses. They just kind of create a lot of buzz around a neighborhood, and it makes it a cool place for other businesses to come and also for people want to move in and live there. I think that the breweries in Southend have definitely contributed to the growth, as well as the light rail playing a major part in this part of town.
So you said you started off home brewing. Sort of general question, what's your opinion on it? I assume you'd say that it's very helpful in getting people to get their start.
Yeah, it's a great hobby. It's a lot of fun. I don't think that for everyone it's a gateway into professional brewing. For some people it's just a really fun way to spend your weekend. But if someone does want to get into professional brewing, it's a great way to learn the ropes and to start to really just figure out the process and get your feet wet, so to speak.
Would you give any tips to an aspiring home brewer at all, or sort of how to get started in the hobby?
Yeah, visit your local homebrew shop is what I always tell people who want to get into homebrewing. We have a great one here in town. I've actually worked at a homebrew shop when I was getting my start in the brewing. They're almost always filled, and I know here in Charlotte especially, filled with really great, knowledgeable people who want to help you get started. everyone I've ever met who works at a homebrew shop is a home brewer themselves. It's not someone who's just trying to sell you something. They're always someone who's really passionate about what they're doing, and they're trying to help spread the gospel of brewing beer.
Okay. Have things become harder or easier over the years with regulations in the craft beer scene? That's sort of the legal aspect of setting up a brewery.
I know a while back there have been a couple like Pop the Cap that were really big changes legal-wise in North Carolina as far as brewing is concerned. There haven't been a huge amount of differences one way or the other in recent years, but there are a couple bills that are up right now that have the potential for really helping craft breweries. One of them to allow contract brewing, which is something that most people don't really think about, but if you're a growing brewery and say you want to build a new location like what Birdsong has just done and what Noda has just done, if you're really, if you're pouring a lot of money and time into a new brewing location and you're still not able to keep up with demand in the meantime, calling up one of your other local breweries and being able to contract some extra space that they have would be a great way to help you with your growth and speed things along. And then there's another bill up right now that has to do with self-distribution limit. Currently, if you reach 25,000 barrels, you can no longer self-distribute in the state of North Carolina. Self-distribution is something that not a lot of states allow at all, so it's already great that we have it. I think it's one of the reasons that North Carolina has so many breweries. I think we're third per capita and third overall. It's huge. Having to put your beer through a third party before it reaches a bar or a customer is a huge detriment to brewers. It just takes it completely out of your control. So you could end up with a great distributor that does a good job of telling your story and taking care of your beer and making sure it gets there fresh. But just as easily, you could end up stuck in a relationship where you have a distributor who's not doing what is best for the beer and best for your brand. And once you're in one of those agreements, you're pretty much stuck there for life in most states. So it's been big so far, but now we have some breweries that are starting to bump up against that limit pretty soon. And if that doesn't get changed, they'll be forced to give up not just everything over 25,000, but once they hit 25,000, 100% of their beer now has to go through a distributor. So those are two things that could really impact the state of North Carolina's brewing scene.
Okay, so where do you see the craft beer scene going in the next couple of years? Do you think it will grow, or has it reached its peak already?
I think it'll continue to grow. As long as breweries keep doing innovative new things and you don't see more and more breweries coming in and trying to do the same thing as everyone else in town, I think in Charlotte specifically, there's plenty more room. We're a pretty big city. We're going on maybe about a dozen breweries now. I think we could support many, many more. I know Portland has about the same amount of people as Charlotte, and they have close to 100 breweries now in the general Portland area. I think the sky's the limit, really, but that being said, we can only see growth if we have differentiation and continue to have good quality, like the breweries who have led the way have done really well.
Is there any more information you'd like to kind of just tell us, volunteer even about your experience brewing before we wrap up, or?
I'll just say I think it's kind of commonly said in the brewing industry, but it's great to be in an industry where there's so much camaraderie and there's so much helping each other and really wanting to see each other succeed. There's very few places where I've seen that type of camaraderie between what most people would consider competitors, but time and time again, when we've run into a question or an issue or needed help with something, there's been a local brewery in town that's been able to help us, and that's something that I think we can't take for granted.
Okay. I think that's all we've got today.
Okay.